All right, we're starting Unit 4 today, Section 4.1, naming lines, segments, and rays. It's very important for this unit that you follow the protocols when it comes to naming the different parts that we see on the page. Like, for example, when you're naming a point, you need to make sure you use a capital letter. All right. So again, we're going to go through some definitions here of these particular items regarding geometry. So again, it says before a point, you're going to name using a capital letter. All right. Space is defined as a set of all points. Next, a line. A line is a series of points that extends in two opposite directions without end. Arrows on each end show that lines extend infinitely in both directions. When you are naming a line, right, you're going to pick 2 points that lie on the line, and then you're going to use this symbol, right, above those 2 lines. Okay, sometimes you may see a line named with a lowercase letter. All right, again, usually that's going to be written in the middle of the line. So here, for example, we're giving for part A, we want to name this line 3 different ways. All right, so again, we want to pick 2 points that are on this line. So I could pick point B and C, and then I'll put the line symbol over that. I could pick C and D, put the line symbol over that. Or I can pick B and D and put the line symbol over that. All right, so again, naming a line, you can use any 2 points on the line and then the line symbol. For part B, all right, we want to name this line 3 different ways. So we see the lowercase l there, so we can name this line L. All right, so we got to make sure that we write the word line if we're going to use that lowercase letter as a naming of the line. You can't just write L. Okay, so line L, or we can name it picking the 2 points that are on that line. So EF, the line symbol over it, or I can even flip-flop the 2 letters. It doesn't matter the order. I can name that line FE. Okay, so again, you have to be careful, right? Remember, L is not a point on that line, right? L is just, right, a way you can name that line. Next, we're going to talk about a segment, right? A segment is a part of a line consisting of 2 endpoints, right? So when you name a segment, or you're going to name it by its 2 endpoints, and then you're going to use this symbol, right, above them. So like, for example, for this one, we want to name this segment. We're going to use the 2 endpoints, RS, and the line segment over it. Or if I want to do SR, again, the line segment symbol above that. All right, let me give you some time here to see if you can do example number 1 on your own. All right, so we're going to name the vertical segment. All right, so again, we're going to pick the 2 endpoints of that segment, P and X. So again, we're going to write either PX with a segment line above it, segment symbol above it, or XP with, again, that segment symbol above it. Very important that you write those symbols above the letters, right, or else points will be deducted on quizzes and tests. For the horizontal segment, it's either XQ with a line over it or QX with that segment line symbol above it. And finally here, where do these 2 segments intersect? All right, when we talk about a point of intersection, we should be referring to a letter. In this case, that letter is X. All right, moving on. Ray, it's a part of a line consisting of 1 endpoint and all the points of the line on one side of that endpoint. This ray extends infinitely in one direction. All right, so again, we're looking at this next diagram here. It says use 1 endpoint and a point on the ray, right, to name it. And again, here is the ray symbol, right? Again, it's like an arrow, So if I want to name this ray, right, I'm going to start with the endpoint, right? The endpoint is right here, right? And then I'm going to go towards another point on the ray, and that would be towards B, and there's my ray symbol above it. That's a ray, right? Ray AB. All right, let's take a look at example number 1. We want to name that ray. And you always need to start with the endpoint. Where is the endpoint, right, for the ray? Right, so in this case, it's going to be Y, and then we're going towards X, and then there's our ray symbol. All right, so let me give you some time to see what you can do with example number 2. We want to name that ray in 2 different ways. All right, so in both ways that you name this ray, you always need to start with C because C is the endpoint. All right, we cannot start with D, right, because the D is not an endpoint. So 2 ways you can name this ray is either ray CD or ray CE. All right, I'm going to skip over here to this next term, which is the word collinear. All right, so collinear means it's a set of points that lie along the same line. So for example, if we go back to the diagram above, we can say that points C, G, J, and F are all collinear points because those points lie on the same line. Right? We could also talk about lines Y, I, G, and X. Even though they are on a ray, they are considered collinear because they lie on a same line. Okay. Points that are not collinear, right? I could talk about I, G, and J. Those 3 points are not collinear because I, G, and J do not all lie along the same line. Now we want to define what a plane is. A plane is a flat surface that has no thickness. It contains many lines and extends without end in directions of the line. When we're naming a plane, we're going to name a plane using 3 non-collinear points, and we're going to use the uppercase italicized letter on the plane. So for the first one here, we can name that either plane M or plane A, B, C. For the second one, plane RST, plane STU, right? You just got to pick some combination of 3 non-collinear points to name the plane. All right, so now we're going to go through a series of what are called postulates or axioms. And these are like laws and rules that you need to make sure you remember, right, for future assessments. Know that through any 2 points, there is exactly 1 line. Okay. If 2 lines intersect, they intersect at exactly 1 point. If 2 planes intersect, they intersect in 1 line. Right, so we got to be careful again with this one because sometimes students want to say a segment. Right, even though we see these 2 planes intersecting right here, right, the green plane and the purple plane here, right, we have to understand that planes are infinite, right? Just because we just see, right, it looks like a segment. Know that planes are infinite, so where 2 planes intersect, it is actually going to be a line. Right, so for this one, it would be line ST. is the line of intersection of these two planes. All right, so let's test your understanding of what we've been talking about. Let's go ahead and do example number 1 here. All right, check your answers for those. All right, and move on to example number 2. All right, so naming 3 points that are collinear, we can say DEF for this diagram. 3 non-collinear points. All right, so an example of that would be points D, E, and G. Now you notice, again, I wrote the answers for part A and B with commas in between the letters. Remember, we're naming points. You just don't want to write like DEF all in a row, all smashed together, all right? Because then you're not naming 3 individual points. Make sure you are careful on how you write these responses on the quiz and test. Okay, so what's important for what we're going to be doing in this unit is you need to be able to look at these figures, to look at these diagrams, and being able to pick out exactly what you want in the diagram. All right, so for these next 4 examples, all right, or 3 examples, we want to be able to shade the indicated plane. All right, so for each of 2, 3, and 4, I want you to shade lightly with your pencil the plane that they are naming. All right, so this is what you should have shaded here for these 3 examples. All right, I'm feeling pretty confident you guys got 2 and 3 right. But let's make sure we got the right plane shaded for number 4. We're looking at plane EHC. All right, so now we have to be able to kind of think of these 3-dimensionally. All right, so this is what you should have shaded in for number 4. Okay, so again, if you're not seeing like how I got that, all right, let me go and I'll start again. All right, so again, a plane is named by these 3 letters EHC. Right, so what I need to do, I'm going to connect E to B and E to H. Right, so you're seeing this kind of like rectangle on a slant inside the box, inside this prism. Right, so it's this rectangle. It's like a slide, right? It's kind of like this little piece of a rectangle on an angle, on a diagonal, inside the box. That's the plane EHC. Let's take a look at number 6 here. It says, what is the intersection of plane HGF and plane BCGF? All right, so again, what I did here is I shaded in those 2 planes to help me focus on what I'm interested in here. So again, we're looking for the intersection of these 2 planes. I remember the intersection of 2 planes is a line. So we're looking at this line right here. All right, so that would be line FG. That is the intersection of those 2 planes. Or again, you could have named it line GF. Right? But again, it's a line, not a line segment. All right, again, let's see what you guys can do with examples 7, 8, and 9. All right, for number 7, the intersection of plane HEF and plane DAE is line HE. Where does segment HD intersect segment AD? That's at point D. And then finally, where does segment CD intersect plane GFB? That's at point C. All right, that's it for today. Go on to the 4-1 homework.